So before we get started, check out the spooky background. Woohoo! Hi everyone, we are back in action this week with a new PR video. Yay! If you're new here, my name is Swani and I make weekly lifestyle videos, keto videos, and PR videos, and writing videos, all kinds of videos. But if you have been following me for a while, you know that I haven't been posting a lot of PR videos, and that's because I wasn't really motivated to post PR videos. I didn't have any like great ideas, but all of a sudden I had so many ideas that came to me, so I'm super excited about that. Before I start blabbering on about PR, if you do end up liking this video, please give it a thumbs up because it'll help me reach more people and it'll help a lot more people see my content, and I would really appreciate that. So something else I want to say, I have been saying that I have a lot of October videos planned for you guys, and I do, but they're not like Halloween themed. They're just like different videos that I'm going to be publishing in October with like a fall-esque kind of vibe. Like for example, we have my new backgrounds here. I put like cobwebs and spiders and just like the total fall mood. So that's gonna be like the mood for October, but it's gonna be like my regular PR writing, keto, and like day in the life kind of content. So it's gonna be the same content with a fall vibe, which I'm super excited about. I got inspired to make this video because one of you asked me in a comment to talk about the onboarding process of like talking to a client or negotiating with a client or whatever that is, and I kind of love that part of everything, so I wanted to talk to you all about it and just share my experience with you. Obviously everybody's gonna have their different process for onboarding. If you work at an agency, if you work for corporate, like it just depends on where you work. So this is just my perspective, and if you have a different one, feel free to share it below. So let's get started with onboarding. I have been part of agencies where I've been a part of the onboarding process with clients, and I've done some onboarding on my own, so I'll tell you kind of like the differences between what happened during both, because I learned a lot in agency, and then I also learned a lot from my own kind of learnings that I did when I was onboarding up clients that I took on my own for like freelance work. So this video is going to focus more on like the proposal part of things and just like the really initial onboarding and the initial communication with a client, and to see if you can actually take on this project or if you'd be like the best fit for this project. First thing I would focus on asking, and this is something that I have asked and something that I've learned like my PR bosses have also asked, is what are their goals? Like, do they want to sell a product in a certain amount of time? Do they want to switch the perception of their company's name or of their own name? Do they want to establish themselves as a thought leader? What is the goal for them to hire PR? I think that's a really important conversation to have, because that'll let you know where you stand and what kind of expectations to set for them. Because if they want to sell a product for 1 month, like they have to kind of push sales, you know that PR takes a longer time to kind of work on, versus like if you want to sell something and you need it to be sold for 1 month, you might want to go more of the route of like ads or digital marketing or do something different with that. So I think like, and I'll get into that later, but I think knowing what their goals are initially and how long they want to sign with you for, or how long they want PR for, it will really help you and will really help you see like how you can approach that client. I've had experiences where a company has wanted to sell a product and perhaps they hire you in a very short amount of time and they want a lot of turnaround or a lot of like quick coverage. If you feel like you're not able to do that, and you shouldn't feel like you have to be because PR takes a lot of time, then I would just be upfront with that client and let them know like, hey, this isn't going to work for 1 to 2 months. Like, you're gonna have to sign for longer, or we're gonna have to work together for longer for us to really get this off the ground, especially if the product has no like celebrity backing or has no like funding, or you know, it's kind of like a mom and pop type of thing. You would want them to sign for longer because it's going to take you a longer time to get that name off the ground as their publicist. If they do want something quick and easy and they just want to get to a lot of people, perhaps PR is not what they are looking for. Perhaps you're looking more for digital marketing or influencer marketing or something else that may be more of a fit for their goals. If they do want to establish themselves as a thought leader or as a leader in their industry, PR is the best for that. Another thing that's important is you kind of want to see if they've worked with PR in the past, or what their experience with PR has been in the past. So some people haven't worked with PR in the past, and as I've said in other videos, it takes a lot of educating them on how long PR takes, how much work goes into it, your value, the value of your own work, how many hours go into that. you know, journalists are not just going to pick up your story because they think it's cool, and how you have to kind of work with what's happening with the times, and how they also have to, you know, bring their best to the table and be willing to work with you in terms of campaigns and fun sort of deliverables, and just to make things creative. So it's not just like they have a product and you're gonna sell it as a PR person. It takes so much more than that. I think when people have not worked with PR in the past, they tend to think that things are gonna happen very quick and they're gonna get like super quick coverage, and sometimes that does happen. Normally that happens when you have, you know, kind of a name established for yourself. But if that were the case, you would have already worked with PR, so you kind of know how it works. But all I'm saying is that if they haven't worked with PR, just be prepared to kind of educate them on the way that PR works in every way possible. Some people have no idea, but they're really receptive to learning. Some people do have an idea. So it just depends. So you really kind of want to have that initial conversation. Next thing you want to do is you want to look at your proposal or your contract and look at what their needs are and how long they're signing for. So if they're going to do a retainer basis, which means they pay you once a month for, let's say, 1 year or 6 months or 2 years, depending on what your contract is, you're going to want to figure out how many hours you can dedicate to that. So let's just say 6 months, and you're working on it on your own as like a freelance publicist. You want to figure out, and 6 months is actually what I recommend. It would be like the shortest amount of time, because doing it for like 3 months, honestly, like I've done it in the past, and I don't think that it gives you enough time to get it out to the press. And also it just depends on the amount of hours that you can dedicate to that client. So for example, if it's 6 months but it's just 10 hours a week, you have a very limited amount of time that you can give. First time working with a client, you're gonna work overtime. Like I feel like that always happens. To me it happens, and because I want like the best results, but sometimes like clients aren't able to pay you for the amount of hours that you need for that project. So that's something that you really want to keep in mind, because you don't want to take on work and then end up having to have it be like a 10-hour a week retainer or a 10-hour a week budget, and then you have to work like 40 hours a week to like get them the results that they want. So those conversations of expectations, of budget, of working, of like hours worked need to be had up front, because if you end up working a lot more, you're just gonna like sort of resent the client, or just be upset that you didn't charge them enough, or I don't know. It brings up a lot of different emotions. So you want to just make sure to charge what you're worth and what you think the allotted time for that project should be. And the way that you figure that out is you start working with clients, and you start tracking your hours on like the clients that you've already worked on in the past. So agencies will sometimes have you track hours for different clients, but if you're doing it like on your own, then start tracking your hours so that you see how much you actually spend on each client or on each project. And that'll help you in the future to tell this person or this brand, hey, like I can work on your project, depending on this budget, I can give you 15 hours a week, or you know, whatever it is. If you do go overtime, you don't want to have to start having those conversations about, you know, I'm working too much. Of course you would if you need to, but I think it's best at the beginning if you just set the standard for how many hours you'll need, and just be realistic about that, so that they can, you know, have their expectations where they should be. Speaking of expectations, let's talk about that, because you know, this whole conversation is how to set up expectations with your clients so that you're both on the same page, and to guarantee the success of your campaign. When somebody approaches you about PR, be honest about your capabilities. I've had people approach me and I literally have said, I can't work on this. I don't enjoy working on this, or it's not something that I believe I can actually get you coverage for. Or yes, I would love to work on that, but let me just let you know that I haven't worked on anything like that in the past. I believe I can get you coverage, and I can get you some good hits, some good like TV mentions or whatever, but I'm not guaranteeing that. It's never good to guarantee coverage, because you just never know what's going to happen. I've been in agencies where leaders have not guaranteed coverage, and I've been in agencies where they have. And so I think I would go the route of not guaranteeing and kind of over delivering, or just seeing how the media reacts to it, because the media is not always going to react well to a product. So that's just up to you to kind of figure out after, but that's a whole other conversation. So yeah, be honest about your experience. You know, you never know. I have been honest, and I've still gotten the job, and I've done really well, and now I have that experience. So you just never know what's gonna happen, but you just always be honest, because you don't want to like pretend that you know how to do something and then not be able to deliver, especially if you're working on yourself or for yourself and you're a freelance publicist or a freelance writer or whatever it is. When you are onboarding, some agencies do this, some people don't, but you can establish KPIs, measurable KPIs. And a KPIs is just saying, I'm gonna get you 5 pieces of national coverage, 2 blog mentions, 1 influencer with like over 1 million followers is gonna mention you, you know? And that's just to kind of set their expectations. You could do more, but when you already set those KPIs, like you have to kind of deliver to what you said you would. So some people like doing that, some people don't. It just depends on like what route you wanna go in. The good thing about that is that it gives you goals to reach for and just like a general direction on what you want. So I always do that on my own, even if I didn't tell the client that this is what I'm gonna get for you, but I always kind of have those goals set on my own. But if you do set those KPIs for a client, just make sure that they're reasonable and that you can actually attain them, because you want to deliver on that at the minimum, and then obviously over deliver and get them more coverage if you can. And the good part about not setting those expectations is that you don't have that like consistent pressure, or they're not like asking you like, when is this going to happen? Because you, with PR, you just kind of never know sometimes. So you're not going to have that pressure to like deliver instantly, even though you already have that pressure and you're obviously already wanting to do a good job. But sometimes like the client can really be on your back about those KPIs or like what you said you would get for them. And so it's a good thing and a bad thing. So that just depends on how you want to practice and what your relationship dynamic is with the client. The last thing is understanding what your client's existing materials are. So if you are pitching a founder of a company for an interview, you want to already have your headshots ready. You want to have like a couple of different photos of them ready. So if they already have that, that's awesome. If you as a PR agency is going to have to do that work, I would include that into your proposal, into your retainer, because you're gonna have to hire a photographer, or they're gonna have to give you the budget to look for the photographer, but that's extra work. So you wanna make sure to account for that. And but if they already have that, obviously it's so much better, and you want to know and kind of see what they have and what you already have to work with. I've worked with some clients who have pictures of the products, have pictures of like everybody in the company, and so it's like a breeze because it's super easy to work with them in terms of pitching them and getting press what they need. But if they don't have that, you're gonna have to set that up. You're gonna have to set up a media kit. You know, obviously you're gonna already do a press release, but you're gonna have to like hire a photographer to take pictures and work on that. And that is all part of onboarding. So that's also something to keep in mind. The extra time and work is gonna take you to produce all of that or to work on that. Just keep in mind timing. Try not to underestimate your time. So I think if you get anything out of this video is to don't underestimate your time or your experience. Charge what you're worth. Charge however long you think the campaign is going to take you. Set up realistic expectations and just go for it. You know, if you want to work on something, if you want to work on a project or take on a client, go for it. I hope this video helped you and kind of gave you more of an insight about the onboarding process. Like I said, I don't know it all. I just have, you know, advice from my own experience. People will tell you other things, and some people will agree, some people won't. So it just depends. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them on the comments down below. I answer everybody's comments, so, you know, feel free to talk with me through there. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you back here next time.